What's going on, faithfuls? It's your boy Mike from the Nothing But Niners crew. We are here to bring you guys roundtable, man. It seems like forever ago the 49ers played. But before we get down to the nitty gritty, before we start introducing everybody, I want to thank everyone for checking us out here on the YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so you know when we're going live for an impromptu video such as this one. All right. Make sure you guys check out the website. That is www.nothingbutniners.com. You're going to see a bunch of great articles by a bunch of great writers. You're going to be led to our social media pages. We have Twitter and Snapchat. Both of those handles are Nothing But Nine ERS. You guys are also going to see our Facebook and our Instagram pages, and those are Nothing But Niners, all the way spelled out. No spaces, no numbers or anything like that in there. Get with the get down, man. Our Facebook page is blowing up. Great conversation in there. People are feuding with each other. It's all good. It's all fun. It's all friendly. I love it. I absolutely love it. You guys got to check it out. And make sure you show some love on Instagram also. All right. So today we're going to have people popping in and out. I got my man Nick. I got Scott. Stefan is in here. I think Eric Crocker's going to pop in. Tony might jump in. Maybe even Silverado Kev, heavy from the Chevy, might be popping in here. I don't know. But guys, the 49ers, man, we went out there. We whooped ass on Thursday Night Football. Now, we already did the overreaction show, but how are we feeling about the quarterbacks? Let's start it off with Nick, because I know you got to get out of here soon. So let's go ahead and get some thoughts on Nick. Nick was the conductor of the Nick Mullens train. This guy is gone and changed his Twitter handle and icon or some stuff. I don't even know what's going on with Nick anymore. I try to find him on Twitter and I don't know who he is. So what's going on? Tell us how you feeling, man.
Look, man, I'm coming from the depths, just like Nick Mullens did. I'm creeping around out there. I'm there, though. But no, seriously, man, I've been waiting and waiting and waiting to see what Nick Mullens had for a few reasons. We've talked about it on other shows. It wasn't that I thought that he was better than C.J. Beathard. It wasn't that I thought he was a more talented quarterback than C.J. Beathard, because obviously I'm not an NFL coach and I don't know and I don't see that thing. But I did feel like C.J. Beathard was not performing in certain aspects of the game that we needed him the most. He's the number one guy on the offense that needs to get the ball, touches the ball every single time. But for the matter of, I was starting to get a little upset because I felt there was a lot of loyalty there to C.J. Beathard from Kyle Shanahan. Being, that he went up and got him as a third-round pick in the NFL draft, and that he was his guy. But Nick Mullens is also his guy because he knew that he was probably going to – you heard him say in a presser that he was probably going to go undrafted just because of height and size and things like that, running a pro-style offense, not really being under center. And he was the only visit – the Niners were the only visit that he got. And Kyle Shanahan, basically said that they had a really good meeting and they talked and whatever. So he's still Kyle Shanahan's guy. But the thing I was getting upset about is he's getting 2 out of every 10 snaps. This guy just literally came in finally. And I don't want to say thank you. I'm thankful for an injury or not, because I don't know if it really was the injury is the reason to why Mullens decided to start. I mean, I'm sure it's part of it. But I'm finally happy that everybody else, including myself, got to see Nick Mullens. And after seeing Nick Mullens, even against a piss-poor, shitty Oakland Raiders defense, Nick Mullens did a lot of things better than C.J. Beathard did. Whether it be progressions, whether it be his quick feet dropbacks, whether it be his release, changing arm angles. There was a ton of things that he ran this offense and it didn't miss a beat. It definitely didn't miss a beat at all. So, I was super pumped, super excited. I've been on the Nick Mullens train, as you said, Mike. I've been asking for 3, maybe even 4 weeks, just to see what the guy got. Now I'm hoping that he gets a lot more snaps this week, and see, hopefully he gets another start, and that loyalty question is still not there, because obviously we know Nick Mullens can run this offense. It'll be another good test up against a very bad Giants team as well. It may sneak in another win there. But let him keep riding that momentum that he has. He said it best in his game, in his press conference game or speech in the locker room. I said it in the preseason, this is what we play the game for. Well, this is the regular season, and this is what we play the game for, to win. Everybody wants to win. So I'm super high on the Nick Mullens train, and I'm ready to see more of it.
All right, so Stefan, there was now we see where Nick stands and he is all aboard. Stefan, there was an interesting question that was asked in our Facebook page, and then I took it to our group, and that was whether or not we believe that C.J. Beathard, if he was given the opportunity to start against the Raiders, would he have produced similarly better or worse? I want to get your breakdown on that. Give us your opinion on how you think Beathard would have done and why in particular, because you had an interesting answer to this.
Okay, I remember the question, but I honestly have no idea what my answer was. So I either have to find it real quick on WhatsApp or.
Well, I mean, you can just run. You can just run from the gut, man. Just tell us how you think.
Yeah, from what I've seen. So, Beathard is just really slow in the pocket, going through his process. Like, basically, when you have a playbook, you see versus certain coverages, you have these and these reads, and you decide, basically, run-pass options is pre-snap in Shanahan's system. So you decide before the snap whether it's a run or a pass. And when it's a pass, you have against certain types of coverages, certain types of reads. So Beathard is just really slow at going through his reads. His run-pass option decisions are usually okay, and it's basically just a numbers game. But when it comes to going through his reads, the process of dropping back simultaneously, starting to read a defense, and just make your read one to see what leverages your receivers versus a certain player. And you can see that he just takes forever. And this is basically what we talked about before the video went live. This was what Nick said, or Scott said, sorry. That he just stands at the back of his drop and starts going through his read. He doesn't climb the pocket. He doesn't climb and evade pressure. He just doesn't have a feel for it. And certainly it seems like that he can't do this simultaneously, or that he needs way more preparation for that. And this is where Nick Mullens has his advantage. He's just way quicker at recognizing where does the blitz come from. This is also a thing Beathard struggles with. So the processing speed in general for Mullens is way faster than for Beathard, and this is, I mean, given this is a really small sample size, 22 dropbacks basically for Mullens versus over 150 for Beathard. I just guess. So we'll see how this turns out against a better defense that can actually rush the passer. But so far, Mullens showed that he can process information quicker and get rid of the ball quicker subsequently.
Interesting. And like you said, before we jumped on live, Scott had a lot of interesting points. He had some stats and things like that. So I'm going to give the floor to Scott now. What's going on? How you feeling? And tell us what you think about our QB2. Is this the guy of the future? Is CJ Beathard on the hot seat? Are his days numbered here in San Francisco or Santa Clara?
Yeah, well, it's tough. I think I wrote a piece, I think last week for Niners Nation, where I gave CJ Beathard like a D or something, and people were quite unhappy with me. I think the issue that we've seen with CJ Beathard is a kind of a light version of what we said of Marcus Peters, is that this guy might be good in a variety of different ways. He's willing to stand in the pocket and get hit. He's got a reasonable arm. He can hit guys downfield. He can hit guys outside the hash marks, outside the numbers from the opposite hash, those kind of things. But can he play against the blitz? That's the big question, I think. And his two final games, Green Bay and LA, and then Arizona seem to Green Bay, LA, and Arizona seem to suggest that he could not play against the blitz. And if you have a quarterback that can't play against the blitz, that's all teams are going to do. Doesn't matter how good you are at other things. If you can't play against the blitz, if you can't process while you're going pre-snap, then you're basically you're non-functional. You can't be used. You're unserviceable at the NFL level. What are people going to do with you if you can't play against the blitz? And I think the stats bear that out. CJ Beathard has thrown 1 touchdown against 3 interceptions against pressure. He's been pressured on 35.9% of his snaps, which is 10% less than Jimmy Garoppolo was, but he's thrown 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, and he has a QB rating of 45.8. That's unacceptable. One of the reasons why he's taking pressure is because he's not identifying blitzes before the snap, which we'll get onto with Nick Mullens, and Stefan's touched on it. And the other problem that he does, again, that Stefan touched on it, is that the 49ers play action game isn't just bootlegs and rollouts, as we saw a lot with Nick Mullens. Kyle Shanahan will ask his QB to drop 10, 12 yards back in the pocket and then climb up the pocket, making as he goes through his progressions. CJ Beathard stands at the top of his drop, and as we saw against LA, that allows edge players to come around the corner. Offensive linemen are not taught to protect the area 12 yards behind the line of scrimmage when the quarterback is dropping. They are taught to create a pocket by which they can move defensive ends around, which he doesn't do, doesn't allow that. That causes problems. Let's look at Nick Mullens' stats. Nick Mullens faced pressure 13.6% of the time. And the Oakland Raiders don't have much of a pass rush. We know that. But one of the reasons why it was so good was because he got the ball out so fast. Jimmy Garoppolo faced some teams that weren't particularly good at rushing the passer, and he was still under pressure 45% of the time because he held the ball too long. Nick Mullens got rid of the ball. There was one excellent play, Richie James against the blitz, and the Raiders sort of showed blitz pre-snap. There was some motion. You see the safety kind of leave the hash mark and come right over the receiver, which Nick Mullens correctly identified. There's going to be a nickel blitz off my left side. The safety's over there. They're going to blitz an outside linebacker. They've got way too many guys in coverage on this side to not be blitzing in this scenario. Correctly identifies it straight off the snap, speeds his processes up, quickly gets to the top of his drop, and then there's Richie James on his right-hand side, who throws the quick slant to in stride, and Richie James takes it 50 yards. We didn't see that with CJ Beathard. And that's the thing that Kyle Shanahan's got to work out. And the reality of Nick Mullens is have the 49ers find a diamond in the rough with some really good intangibles. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. This guy's not Tom Brady in intangibles. He probably isn't. He could be. But he's clearly got some intangibles that the 49ers can work with, in that he's quick to identify what a defense are doing. He's quick to identify how to attack a defense. And once he makes his decision, he's decisive with the ball. And that, at the moment, is more than can be said of CJ Beathard. And arguably is all that Kyle Shanahan needs from his QB at this point.
Absolutely. One of the tweets that I really liked that I saw was from David Lombardi on Twitter. And he said that Nick Mullens averaged from snap to throw 2.46 seconds, which was the second fastest time in the NFL. So that's pretty much what it is. You're dropping back. You're looking for your first read, maybe your second. If it's not there, you're taking the check down. And we just didn't see that with CJ Beathard. It just seemed like he was holding on to the ball forever. It was taking forever for him to get rid of the ball. And he was taking, not only was he taking forever, like you guys have said over and over, he was dropping back and just standing there. He wasn't moving around the pocket. He just seemed to be super stationary. And by the time he realized he should be moving, pressure was already there and sinking in on him, collapsing the pockets. So this is my question to you guys. It's, should we... Because all right, so here's the thing. A lot of people are defending CJ Beathard. He's not bad. He just needs whatever. Or he's this, but we can do that. All right, that's fine. That's true. We know what CJ Beathard is, and we obviously can see what he needs to improve on, right? But then we can also see what Nick Mullens is, and what if we improve on him? Which guy do you think, if the 49ers were to take one of these guys and groom them the same amount of time as the other guy, which guy do you think has a higher ceiling versus a higher floor, if there's a difference? So we'll do this one in reverse. We'll go back to Scott, and then we'll go to Stefan.
I think what's become clear about NFL quarterback play from the guys, by and large, at the top of the game, guys like Drew Brees, Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, even Aaron Rodgers, is that the most important thing is what's up here. It doesn't matter how good your arm is. It doesn't matter it doesn't even matter, how hard you are in terms of being able to take hits and get back up again. Really, it's all about what you're doing up here, because if you've got it all up here, you don't have to worry about taking those hits as much, because the ball is away. You hit your check down option. You're predetermining where you're going to go with the ball to a certain extent. You know where it's going. For me, that means that Nick Mullens has the higher floor out of these two quarterbacks, because it would seem to me that CJ Beathard, his floor is lower because he's not doing that as well in kind of identification. And as I said, the reality is if CJ Beathard cannot identify the blitz and know where to go against the blitz, his floor is literally the floor, because teams are going to come out and blitz him 50%, 60% of the time. He's not going to throw the ball. We've seen that. He's going to get hit. He's going to go within himself. Guys are going to be wide open, and he's not going to be decisive and throw the ball that way because he's so worried about the blitz, because he's looking at the blitz, because he's not looking at the receivers downfield. The floor is the floor with CJ Beathard if that's his issue, and that doesn't get fixed. In terms of ceiling, that's when you can start talking about the physical tools. Like
Wait. So since you did, I don't want you to answer everything, because I think Stefan and I agree with everything you just said as far as who has a higher floor. So let Stefan give his opinion on the higher ceiling, And if you differ for that, then you can rebuttal.
Yeah, so Scott basically, or not basically, he literally covered what I was going to say. So when it comes to ceiling, as Scott started talking about, physical, the physical tools start to weigh in a bit. So that a little bit, I don't know if he's taller or not, but he certainly has a little bit of a better arm. I've seen 2 or 3 passes, I think, from Mullens that he just cannot float against a real defense. Those would have been easy picks because some of the passes they relied on timing and the ball being there for the receiver and not for the receiver to wait for the ball. So I don't know that here Mullens necessarily has the advantage when it comes to physical tools, especially the arm strength. And I don't know how good Mullens yet is on deep throws. We've seen Beathard hit Goodwin 2 or 3 times deep, like in stride perfectly. He can throw it deep, and he can throw it far enough, and he can throw it to the perfect spot. This doesn't mean that Mullens can't do it, but it's certainly a thing Beathard had already shown, and this is also a thing I think Mullens needs perfect conditions for, like being able to step perfectly into the throw to get it to his receiver. And I don't think that he... so this is basically what the question about ceiling is also about. The physical tools, can he make all the throws? I think Beathard has the advantage there. The problem is, can Beathard mentally get to the point where Mullens is now or even exceeded? Because if he can't do it, then the talk about the ceiling is pretty easy and pretty fast finished. Because if Beathard can do that, his ceiling is not really high. He needs really to step it up mentally to be able to go through reads, to do it simultaneously while climbing or moving in the pocket. And if he can't do that, then Mullens has the higher ceiling. But this is a tall task for Beathard to overcome.
Absolutely. And I do want to say what's up to all the YouTube people out there viewing right now. We want to thank you guys for checking us out and rocking with us. Now, Stefan said a lot there, and you know, I tend to agree with him. You would feel like physically Beathard has the better traits. But in the NFL, and specifically with the quarterback position, the most physical person doesn't always have the higher ceiling. You know, it's not always about who's the strongest person. You have to be able to apply your physical traits to it also. And people are forgetting, like, you know, I know a lot of people don't follow the team as closely as we do. And that's no knock to the fans. That's what this show is about. We want to make sure our fans know as much as we do. Mullens is not a rookie. They have both been in the system for 2 seasons. They both have been here just as long. So, you know, these guys have the same exact amount of time here, but it just seems to me like, how do I get across what I'm trying to say? Here's my question. Here, I'll put it to you this way. They both have been here the same amount of time. Obviously, the team invested a lot more in Beathard than they did in Mullens, right? I mean, Beathard is 2 draft picks worth of a player, where you have no draft pick worth of a player. But everyone was saying, oh, Shanahan put together a much simpler game plan for Mullens. Why didn't he do this for Beathard then? Like, if Shanahan is watching these guys in practice day in and day out, he has to have seen that his quarterback was struggling mentally, so he needed a mental break. Why not do the same thing for Beathard then? This is what I don't understand about, you know, oh, well, it was a different game plan and that's why, or, well, we have to watch Mullens play against a tougher defense. Well, let's be honest here. The Raiders and the Cardinals defense aren't that far off from each other. The Cardinals defense was not good this year, and Beathard played them twice. He didn't do a good job. So I don't understand why Kyle Shanahan didn't dumb down the offensive play callings for Beathard. And if he did, shouldn't that count against C.J. Beathard and not against Nick Mullens? Because it seems like it's counting against Nick Mullens. He did good, but the Raiders are bad. He did good, but it was a simple game plan. if Shanahan is giving Beathard the more complicated stuff or the more complicated game plan, then doesn't that mean that Shanahan thinks that Beathard was capable of handling that? We'll go backwards again. We'll go from Stefan and then to Scott to respond to that.
Yeah, this is what I said in my WhatsApp message when you originally asked the question, Mullens or Beathard. Beathard has full field reads. He has basically he has the full Shanahan offense to work with. This is an advantage, but also if you can handle it. What I mean, Mullens had some rollouts. He had some half-field reads. The job for Mullens was an easier one than for Beathard. So we also have to see if Mullens can work under the same circumstances as Beathard and see Beathard's quarterback play. But I honestly don't know what to make of it, because either this is an indicator of Shanahan that he does realize that Beathard is incapable of realizing this game plan, or this is an indictment on Beathard that he shows that he can do it but isn't ready for the mental pressure on game day and then falters while executing it. So I think a little blame put on both. Certainly more on Beathard, because he's ultimately the one to execute, and if he can move the offense in any way, this doesn't bode well for him. But Shanahan, as the player, should be able to realize it and make Beathard's job a little bit easier. I'm glad that he did it for Mullens. I don't know when he starts taking the training wheels, to say. But this definitely will be an interesting thing to monitor going forward.
I absolutely agree, Scott.
Yeah,
I want to get your thoughts on that also, man. Why not dumb it down for your guy then, if he can't handle it? Or I don't know. Like it just seems like bad excuses. I understand that people get this emotional attachment to somebody because we've seen them so much. We've seen them take a hit and all that. Yeah, that's cool. I love that. But when I go to buy a car, I'm not buying the one that I saw the most crash test dummies go through the windshield or didn't go through the windshield on. I want the one that gives you better results. You can have an infatuation for the crash test dummy, but that's not why you buy the car. Yeah, Beathard could take a lot of hits, but that's not why you start him at quarterback. So what's going on? How do you put the blame on that? I mean, is it Shanahan's fault for giving him too much on his plate, or what?
I think it's the latter to an extent. I think it might be an element of poor kind of personnel analysis and a poor assessment from Kyle on what CJ Beathard was capable of. But also teams have kind of worked him out, because the first couple of games, LA, he was fine. He was more than fine, actually. I mean, arguably CJ Beathard's performance against the LA Chargers, I should say, was potentially the most efficient quarterback performance we'd seen all season before Nick Mullens just did what he just did. Being safe with the ball, throwing to the guys who were open, it was fine and didn't get hit that often. But the signs, the cracks were showing. Derwin James basically coming free on blitzes. The cracks were starting to show. And then that first Arizona game, the turnovers weren't really on him. And again, you're like, okay, he's okay. The turnovers weren't too much on CJ Beathard. Then we got the I think the LA Rams game, I want to say, or Green Bay, one of the two.
Yeah, it was Green Bay next.
Green Bay, and again the cracks are showing. He's not that great against the blitz, but again did put together a good performance. And then we got LA, and you're like, oh, shit, this is really bad. Wade Phillips, being Wade Phillips, has worked out that this guy cannot play the blitz and is blitzing him a whole load. And then Arizona came in, and then Arizona, who were always blitz heavy, just were like, fuck it. We've got nothing to lose here. Let's blitz the shit out of this guy at our house, which they did, and they got the win. And then you're like, oh God, like, this guy just cannot do it. And it's to some extent Kyle Shanahan did make his game plan easier. He didn't ask him to go deep as often as he asked Jimmy Garoppolo. His yards per attempt were lower, all those things. It was dumbed down. I was annoyed with the game plans because I didn't see Kyle Shanahan making his life as easy as it could have been. Sure, you're dumbing him down, letting him sort of throw shorter routes, not have to throw deep so much. But why aren't you giving this guy the half-field reads that we saw him give Nick Mullens? Why aren't you rolling him out of the pocket and letting him read half the field with the pass rush somewhere off to his left? And you've got basically 2 reads. But why aren't we doing that for him? And then he does it for Nick Mullens, and you think, God, that's kind of what you wanted to see from CJ Beathard. So criticism of Shanahan, but Nick Mullens executed his game plan last week more efficiently than any of our quarterbacks had executed their game plans preceding that point.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we can beat this thing until you know, we can beat it to a pulp. But I mean, I'm going to go around really quick. I'm going to start with Stefan. We'll go to Scott, and then we'll throw it to Tony. Just really quick, who's your backup quarterback going forward? Or I guess I should say starting quarterback going forward, and is it going to play into next season? So Stefan, really quick, who do you want to see going forward? And you can explain and be as long-winded on that part as you want, and then tell us what you think that plays into next year as far as who's going to be the backup quarterback going forward.
Yeah. So in the group chat, I've said if it was up to me, I'd play both this season, just to see whether Beathard can a little bit improve on his performances, and whether you can manufacture a little bit of trade value. Because going forward, I honestly like to see Mullens. Mullens isn't the prototypical quarterback stature. He doesn't have quite, but his flaws are easier to work around than Beathard's flaws. Beathard's flaws are mental, and you really have to dive deep into the game plan and make it as easy as possible for him. And Mullens is capable of handling more. So you can run a wider offense, you can run a more detailed offense with Mullens, and you can be sure that he goes through his reads and that he recognizes some things pre-snap, which Beathard, in all fairness, isn't really too good at. And this is why I'd like to see Mullens in general going forward and as backup. But I'd like to see Beathard play as well, have Shanahan make it a little bit easier for him, give him the Mullens game plan, so to speak, put training wheels on him, and just make sure that you get maybe 3 good games out of him to end the season on a positive note, and to maybe see if you can trade Beathard at some point and maybe get something back in return, because we've seen if it's not against blitz-heavy teams, as Scott perfectly explained, he can be serviceable. He's beaten the Giants last year, which was an all right performance. He played really well against the Packers when they didn't blitz him. He played well against the Chargers. So I think for some there's backup quarterback with value there. It's just on Shanahan to make sure they can basically capitalize on some performances from Beathard.
Okay. All right, now I'm going to pass it over to Scott to give his thoughts on it. Now, by the way, guys, it's election day. If you are in this country, get up off your ass and go vote. All right, you can wait till the video's over because the polls are usually open until about 8 p.m. But you guys, make sure you go vote today. I can't express it enough. You see it in everything, even into football. Politics has trickled down into football. I'm not going to get into all that, but don't be a person who just complains. The complaint department is full. Get out and do something about it. Today is your chance. All right, Scott, the floor is yours, my man.
I think what needs to be happening needs to be a little bit of deception. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. CJ Beathard is injured this week, so Nick Mullens gets start number 2. So you get another game just to see Nick Mullens. Okay, was that complete fluke, or has he got something against NFL teams? And then if it's like, okay, yeah, this guy's actually pretty good, we might be able to work with him as a backup. Take him out. Throw CJ Beathard back in, because right now his draft value is, and in terms of what we can get back for him, is going to be peanuts. Because most NFL front offices are going to look at him and go, he can't play the blitz for shit. Someone desperate might come and give us something kind of acceptable, like a 5th or 6th for this guy, like a Jacksonville, or like someone in desperate need of QB might decide that they want to throw something just to like kick the tires, make sure they get him in and see. But then they might look at the 49ers and go, they're probably going to release this kid because the other guy looks better. So we need to try and give CJ Beathard the chance to just give his stock a little bit of a kicking, just to try and get more like what we pay. We're probably looking at a 4th or at best a 3rd for this kid. Like, you're not getting a 2nd or anything like that, but like a 4th, maybe a 3rd, or a combination of later round picks. Right now, you're going to get shit all. So let him try and raise that stock. If he goes in and he flops it, then you go, right, that's it. His stock is peanuts. We're going to have to cut him at the end of the year. Back comes Nick Mullens, and he's the guy. But I'd like them to try and get CJ Beathard out, because at this point it's like kind of improve his stock slightly. And if he balls out, then suddenly NFL teams have got two games of Nick Mullens being pretty good to be like, shit, are we going to massively overreact to this and then throw him back in and throw the 49ers more content, more kind of stock and more picks for him, because we've got 2 games of him being really good. So that gives you kind of the options. That's my take.
Okay. All right. So Scott wants to see both of these guys out here. So I'm anxious to hear what my man Tony has to say about that. Drive carefully, my man. So how are you going to do it, man? Who do you want to see going forward? Who do you think is going to be the backup next year? I mean, break down the quarterback battle right now. And by the way, I'm a 49ers fan. I'm a diehard 49ers fan, just like everybody in here. Not a single one of us lives in the Bay Area. And I got to say, as a non-Bay Area resident, it felt good to kick the Raiders' ass in the final battle of the Bay and know for a fact there is no redemption. That is it. We are forever cemented as the champions of the Battle of the Bay. So that is awesome. I'm not even a Bay Area. I'm not even a Bay Area native, so that is awesome. I feel good. I can only imagine how the people out there feel. So Tony, talk to me about these quarterbacks. What is your game plan going forward? Are you ever going to put CJ Beathard back in there? Do you let Nick Mullens rock out till the wheels fall off? What's up?
I agree with Scott to a point. I would like to see him play a couple more games, Mullens, and see how he does. I mean, we did play the Raiders defense that flat out quit. But I will say this, Shanahan's scheme, it's a timing scheme, like I said before. And CJ Beathard's main flaw is he holds that ball too damn long. And now it's on film. So as far as trying to build his value, it's going to be tough, because in my opinion, watching that game, I don't think he really made his scheme more simple to help Mullens. I just think Mullens scanned the defense, made his read, and got the ball out quicker than CJ. Going forward, I would love to see Mullens against the Giants. And if he does good, I would love to see him going forward. I have no problem with bringing all 3 back next year and going through a training camp with them. Maybe CJ works on the offseason to try and prove himself. Then you let them battle out in places, because we all in preseason, but we all know number one is Jimmy. You can't say, oh, hell with Jimmy, we're going to go with Mullens. You can't do that. So we're going to roll forward with Jimmy and let these 2 guys battle it out. But right now, listen, the kid's hot. Shanahan's always about the hot hand. I say stick with the hot hand, let him go forward.
Interesting point. And see, I agree with you guys, but I want to see them both back in there. And here's how I would do it. All right. Shanahan has already expressed a ton of confidence in CJ Beathard. He has done that all year long. Grant Cohn has flat out asked him, why is CJ Beathard still your quarterback? And he doesn't even hesitate, because he's the best quarterback in the building right now. That was with Savage on the roster. That's with Mullens in there. Like, he's the best quarterback on the roster. No hesitation. All right, so you got the injury. You bench him, right? Shanahan showed Beathard what you could do if you get rid of the ball quickly. This is how the game could go if you get rid of the ball faster. Maybe that's what Beathard needed. Maybe he needed to step back and not watch himself on film, but watch the offense whole on film. And so if it were me, I would definitely 100% put Beathard back out there. The question becomes when. And unfortunately, if it weren't for the Giants being the team, I would make him wait one more week and then put him in there. But this is where I'm going to disagree with Scott. I would put him in there this week. He's got the confidence of his head coach. He knows that already. He's healed up from his injury. He's now seen how it could go. And the Giants are his only win in his professional career. Right now, this is as high as it's going to get for him. I say you put him in there, especially if you're trying to build up the stock like Scott was saying and what Stefan was saying, in order to get some kind of trade value for the offseason. Put him in there when he's going to be at his emotional high. You know, he's got something to prove. His back is against the wall. Everyone's all of a sudden counting him out. He's got to show in there, I can do this. I saw how it can work. I know I've got to get rid of the ball a lot faster now. And this is the team that I beat. All the teams that I've played, I've lost. He's 1-8, 1-9 or something like that as a starter. And that one win is against the Giants. Give it to him now. What's up, Tony? Go ahead. I saw you want to jump in.
I just got one thing about the injury. I caught on a highlight. I was watching a highlight on ESPN, and they showed, during the pregame, Mullens warming up, right? And you know how the starter will throw the ball to a receiver like 10 yards away, then the receiver hands it to the backup quarterback, and he throws the ball to the quarterback coach or an assistant. Now, if he was really that hurt, why would he be throwing that ball? I think the injury, I don't know if with this injury, I don't know. I mean, listen, God forbid Mullens went down, right? And he came on to play. Is he going to be able to play? Is he really injured? Or did Kyle use the injury as let's go with a fresh face?
Yeah, so that was a big topic of, especially when they said he couldn't hold a ball the Tuesday before the game. Tuesday, he couldn't hold the football. Wednesday, all of a sudden, he could. And then Thursday, he's officially the backup, and Savage is inactive. So a lot of people were scratching their heads about, what's going on? Is this injury real? Is it fake or whatever? And I think that's what Scott was alluding to when he said he's injured this week. Like, he was putting it in air quotes, saying that maybe we go ahead and continue to use that as an excuse. Nick is just jumping back in here. I don't know how much he's seen, but what we're talking about right now is how to build up, if you want to do that, how to build up stock in CJ Beathard for trade value going into next offseason, and who you want as the backup going forward. Do you want to see both of these guys play again this year, or are you just going to ride Nick Mullens until the wheels fall off and never looking back at Beathard? How are you handling that situation, Nick?
Well, I mean, first off, I'm gonna ride the hot hand, and I hate to say it like that, but that's really what happens in the NFL. You can go back to, you can go Alex Smith to Kaepernick. You can go Drew Bledsoe to Tom Brady. You can go a ton of people in the NFL that got their shot because of an injury, and there was no looking back from there. I'm not saying Nick Mullens is our starter, but I think he definitely deserved another shot or another chance, another game. CJ Beathard, I don't know how we can raise stock value for him because he's played in 10 games. He's only got one win under his belt. He has 17 or 18 total turnovers. I think that, he has had his chance to raise that value. I really truthfully don't know how you can raise the value of a CJ Beathard right now. Because the only thing I see is his stock dropping one way or another, especially when an undrafted free agent comes in. And I understand everybody says it's dumbed down or, it's a different defense, it's different that. But, CJ Beathard played against some pretty shitty defenses. He played against the Cardinals twice. He had 4 turnovers in one game, and the team completely dominated overall, and we still lost the game. CJ Beathard is definitely a tough dude, but like I said on Twitter, he's tough to watch. Rudy Poo my ass, I don't care. I'd rather you not take hits and not be able to take hits than not be able to get rid of the football. I think the biggest thing that helps Mullens right now is his agility or his ability to get rid of the football fast. It's the same type of Jimmy Garoppolo thing. Jimmy Garoppolo is known for his release, getting rid of the ball quick. going through progressions quick. And truthfully, man, we really seen a lot of what we've seen in Jimmy Garoppolo against this poor defense. Now, I want to see him play against the Giants. I know they're not much better at defense, but I want to see him continually play against teams that have a better defense. I was listening. I did catch a little bit of what Stefan was saying about some of Mullens' passes. If they were against a better defense, that they would have been easily picked. I understand that. Like, some of his passes were iffy, one or two of them in my eyes. But you also got to understand, maybe that read wasn't there with a better defense. He could have went somewhere else with the football. He took chances, but I can't say that I hate, I disagree with him taking chances like that, but I think you have to take those chances sometimes. I think that I don't really think the playbook was really dumbed down that much, other than there was more rollouts. But the problem is Nick was more swift on his feet than CJ Beathard is. So a rollout, is also about your footwork. And you could tell right from the gate that Nick Mullens was swifter on his feet than CJ Beathard has been all year long.
Nick Mullens is more of a play from his toes guys, where CJ Beathard uses heels a lot, and that tells you a lot about how a player and how a quarterback is going to move in the pocket. I feel like Nick Mullens is this year's Brian Hoyer. It's weird because Brian Hoyer was just getting killed game after game after game, and they were like, forget it, we got to go with someone else, and they just put Beathard in, right? And then that's kind of what's happening now. It's like Beathard was getting killed game after game after game. Mullens comes in now, and now there's like a little bit of, like, I was one of those guys last year that was like, look, I know you guys are saying that you want to see Beathard, but Hoyer has never looked worse than CJ Beathard. I was one of those guys that was defending Brian Hoyer against, being pulled and benched permanently. And we got one win out of it all. But that's neither here nor there. It's just kind of weird watching all this happening and like history kind of repeating itself. You know what I mean? It's like now we're all, Beathard's gone and we're never going to look back and we're going to keep rolling with Nick Mullens. It's going to be interesting. I do think both of these guys need to start some more games this year, however they decide to do it. But we got to move forward in the topics here. Again, Battle of the Bay. They literally beat the Raiders into submission. They benched their starting quarterback. By the way, hot take, guys, you're going to hear it here first. I think Derek Carr is going to be traded to the Jaguars in the offseason. It might happen during the draft. It might happen a little before the draft, but I'm telling you guys, I don't think Derek Carr is going to be there next year. So you heard it here first.
Gruden loves him too much.
He benched him.
Yeah, but dude, you're getting your ass whooped. Why would you not bench him?
Because that's your quarterback. Go out there and play through it. What are you telling the team?
Also, he got killed. To that point, he had like 6 or 7 sacks taken. So at some points, it's also about.
There's a
this
point where you
also about being. There was no point in letting Carr play. You knew you were going to lose this game, and if you keep Carr in, there's at least a slight chance he gets in, and this is, whether they admit it or not, this is also a little bit on every coach's mind, that the NFL is just any given snap you can just take a break a bone and be out for like forever. So I think played a little bit of a part in it too. But I agree that Carr is not a sure thing going forward with the Raiders after this season.
Yeah, see, I mean, I think there's a difference between, Gruden already takes a lot of heat for what he's doing over there. If you lose Derek Carr for a season because of an injury for the rest of the season, how bad he would have looked. I mean, you're beating up a team 34-3 in the final, whatever it was. What was it, 7 minutes left in the game? I don't remember the exact minutes. But what's the chance of, what's the reasoning to lose? You're already getting hits. You already have 7 sacks. It takes that one snap to break a leg or do something.
I'll tell you the reasoning. It's because, you're the quarterback and they're pulling you to protect you. I'm putting my body on the line also. So what am I, less important? I understand. Like, come on, that's not the message that's sent to the team. That is not the message that's sent to the team.
Yeah, that is literally what every team does. The quarterback is the most important player on the team. Every player knows that. Every coach knows that. And every day in practice, you don't hit the quarterback. Everyone knows the quarterback is off limits for other players. The quarterback is the most important player on a given team, and every player knows that. So I wouldn't count that as an excuse.
Y'all can make all the excuses you want. I have seen starters pulled from games. We've seen it. We saw Week 17 last year against the Rams. We've seen multiple starters pulled from the game. That was just one player. And you can't tell me that
he's your franchise quarterback. What happens
for now?
Your franchise quarterback?
Hey, look, I'm not going to argue with y'all. I'm just giving y'all my hot take, okay? Derek Carr won't be with the Raiders next year. We'll see. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I don't care. It's the Raiders. But we'll see.
I actually agree that Derek Carr is not safe from Gruden. No player is. If you see what he's done in the past with the Raiders and the Bucks, he usually has praise for everybody and then cuts random guys the next day. So I wouldn't put too much in Gruden's words, and I believe that Carr is not a sure thing to be on the Raiders next season. But for this season, he's the quarterback. AJ McCarron is not the answer, not anywhere. And so I don't think John Gruden would like to go through half a season with AJ McCarron.
All right, so I want to give this to Scott really quick because I know he's got to go soon. But Scott, the 49ers are 2-7 right now. Playoff hopes are, I mean, we're not technically eliminated yet, but it's not looking good. My question to you is pretty simple. How do you want the Niners to play the rest of the year? Once we were 1-7, you kind of look at things a little different. You can sit back and watch the game without any stress of we need to win, we need to win. I feel like that burden is gone. Do you want to see the Niners continue to win, or do you want to see them just go out there and be competitive, or do you want us to lose for draft position? Because I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think there's anything wrong with not minding your team losing because you're going to get better draft position. Your quarterback's coming back next year. Your running back is coming back next year. You're going to have a healthy crew, better pass rush and all that stuff. So I understand the necessity of it. You know, there's a business side to everything. So Scott, we'll start it with you because I know you got to get up out of here. Your perspective on watching 49er football for the remainder of the season.
I don't care about winning. It doesn't really faze me. I was happier when we won against Oakland, but it doesn't really. I don't really care. I want to see performances. I want to see specific players, by and large, doing well. So I mean, I want to see how Jimmy Ward does. I want to see if he can potentially tie down that free safety spot. You need what the last few weeks has shown us, and I think the thing that everyone has underestimated is that the key thing about that player is, like the quarterback, they just need to be really cerebral. They don't need to have like insane range. They just need to see what's in front of them, read what the offense are trying to do, and get the rest of the defense set up. That's a key part of their role. Get everyone on the same page before the snap and make sure everyone's doing the right thing post-snap. Jimmy Ward's an interesting storyline. Who's the quarterback? How's he going to play? Does Dakota Watson make you think, okay, we might have a decent pass rusher? I think we know, kind of roughly speaking, what everyone else is. What's Dakota Watson? We don't know. How does Ahkello Witherspoon do? Does he continue to kind of improve as he's done throughout the season after their kind of injury sort of affected weeks 2 and 3, horrendous performances? He's been fine. So it's just specific guys. Fred Warner's another one. Foster. How are they playing? I don't care if we win or lose. The higher up the draft, the better. To be honest, get yourselves the best pick of the players and the possibility to trade down or trade away a pick, do something crazy with it. I don't care. Just play, just guys performing well. That's all I care about.
So right now we only have 5 picks in the 2019 draft, and we'll fast forward to the end of the season. You're not as upset if the Niners win 6 games in total. We finished the season 6-10 as opposed to 2-14.
I'm not upset because I think that means that in terms of the talent level that we've got in the building, we're closer to where we want to be, because that will have meant that certain young players will have stepped the fuck up basically and started delivering and started playing well, and the scheme has been executed better, those kind of things. That I think is good. And to be honest, what we've seen about the edge rushers is if we're picking really high and we go edge rusher, we're probably going to have to reach potentially at that position, quote unquote, which I don't think the front office will necessarily want to do with the Solomon Thomas poo-poo that they seem to have done, where they reached. Let's be honest, they reached for him and it hasn't worked out so far. It might be even better for us. It might just be like front office. There's an edge rusher sitting there at like number 8 or 9. Just pick the dude. No reach. We know what he is. Bang. Done. The team's closer. We're an edge rusher away from being good. If we go 6-10, that's the reality of the situation. We're an edge rusher away from being pretty damn good.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's good insight, man. Thanks for joining. Enjoy that dinner. All right. I hope it's not cold out there. Guys, listen, man. I'm looking at a lot of the comments in the room right now, and people are saying, "Yo, I want to see us win games." How can you be a fan and want to see the team lose? So it's not that we want to see the team lose. It's just that the losses don't hurt us in draft position. So there's a big difference. No one is sitting here saying, "Man, I hope we lose. I hope we lose. I hope we lose." But that's just where we are. I was going to give it to Tony, but it looks like he's in the middle of something over there. All right, so let's go to Nick really. Oh, wait. No, yeah. Okay, we're gonna go back to Nick. Nick, I want to get your opinion on what you're hoping to see from the team the rest of the season, man. I mean, wins, losses, or is it just about effort at this point? Does everybody just think it's just effort?
I want to see the right decisions being made, and that goes from the coaching staff to the players with execution. I don't think that. I do agree with Scott that I think, we're a pass rush away from being a decent team. We have a young secondary. I do also want to – I might slice my throat for saying this, but I do want to see more of Jimmy Ward actually because he really balled out the last 2 weeks. I'm not a big fan of Jimmy Ward, if you guys all know this. I think he's very dookie, I guess you could say. But
Jimmy Ward been balling.
Jimmy Ward has been balling, and I'm going to give him the props from me. So I definitely have to give him props because he has been balling. But I think it kind of set into him because when you heard him on his interview, and he's like, well, I'll play wherever, if I'm here Tuesday. So I think it's finally set into him that he gets in, he's got to stay healthy. Like, that's the biggest thing that has been with Jimmy Ward is not being able to stay healthy.
Jimmy Ward flat out said, I'm a safety, and they asked me to play corner. Like he put it out there. He put it out there. Those are his words. So like I'm gonna play wherever they ask me to play, but I'm a safety that they asked to play corner. That's it.
Right. And which is fine. I think he's fine there, but like I said, I wasn't a big fan of him playing safety, because he's so fragile, and you're coming at more speed. But he's been one of the better tacklers in the last 2 weeks. He's been one of the players who have been covering a lot of ground from sideline to sideline. He's coming up in the box. He's playing smart. He's definitely playing smart. And so I just want to give him props real quick because I don't ever give Jimmy Ward props ever have I ever given Jimmy Ward props. But I'm going to pull the toilet paper back a little bit and let him ride. So, but as far as wanting to see what this team does, I don't want to lose. I don't give a shit if it's the first pick, the second pick, the third pick, the fourth pick. Whatever it is. I'm a Niners fan. I want to see us win. I don't care if we finish 6-10. I don't care if we finish 5-11. I want to see us win. And the reason that I want to see us win is because things are coming together on the field. Whether it's communication, whether it's the young players stepping up, whether it's just the scheme coming all together, whether it's the command and communication and decisions that Kyle Shanahan is making. The players are sticking together. We knew that this was not a year to go to the Super Bowl. I said that there was a possibility when Jimmy Garoppolo was there and Jerick McKinnon was there that we could make a playoff run this year. I definitely think we're a few pieces away from that. And I think that things will change when we get Garoppolo back or we can actually stay healthy in general. Health has been a big factor on this team this year. We're looking at a byproduct of something that's really not what the plan was. So things have not really come together yet because you go an entire offseason scheming and game planning with the players that you have only to be taking away from you one day before the first game and then 3 weeks into the season, 2 of your main factors being taken away from you. So I don't want to see this team lose. Would I be mad if we lose? I would only be mad if we're losing because lack of execution or bad decision making on from the coaches, or just really really bad scheme, and not being able to keep the foot on the gas, I guess you could say, um, and basically the ability to change within game, with Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh as well. So I would not be mad if we lose unless those things are factors in that. If we're just going out there and we're getting beat up because of, or they're close games and we're losing, I'm not going to be mad at that. But if we come out and we get blown out, 39-10, like we did with the Rams consistently, there's an issue going on with it, whether it be execution from players, coaches' decisions, or such like that. Draft picks to me are draft picks. You can find diamonds in the rough late in the first rounds, late in second rounds, even late in fourth or fifth. I mean, we found a half diamond in the rough with Adrian Colbert. I wouldn't say he's a full diamond in the rough right now.
Kittle is.
You look at, Kittle. Kittle was in the fifth round. Kittle's a diamond in the rough that we stole. That wasn't really big in the passing game over there in Iowa. And that's another thing that surprised me of why we drafted C.J. Beathard because they didn't really throw a lot in Iowa. But, you can look at the likes of Richard Sherman. You can look at the rights of Earl Thomas. You can look at these top-notch players that were drafted late in rounds, fourth on, and have balled out their career. So I'm not really worried about draft picks. And I think that if we did get a number 1 or number 2 pick, with us only having 5, I believe we would have traded that pick for more picks to be able to build this team even more. So, I never thought that we would. Yes, Nick Bosa is a hell of a player, but I really never thought if we ended up with the first pick that we would really take Bosa. I thought that there's more of a chance of us trading out to get 3 or 4 more picks in the draft, which would eventually help us in the long run. But I'm not big on draft picks, so I want to see the team win. I want to see all aspects of the game and the team come together to where, like Scott said, that we're really not that far off. Seeing the likes of, more snaps for Ronald Blair, DeForest Buckner coming into his own, Solomon Thomas playing in the right position. Just these things that we can see throughout the entire year. So losing, I would be upset if it was things that we could fix, or they were close games, or if they weren't close games. And other than that, I just want to win.
Some competitive football. I want wins, but above all that, I want us to be competitive in every game. I respect that. Tony, you ready? Give us your outlook on the rest of the season, man. How you want things to go down? How you want us to go out there and fight week after week?
I'll tell you what, that was Nick. Excellent job on that. All I could do is pretty much piggyback off of you because you covered everything on that. But the most important thing is I just want to see this team compete, fight in, fight out every week. Stay in the game. If they get outplayed, they get outplayed. But as long as they're fighting, before I continue on with this rant, I just want to take a minute to give Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch credit, because easily this team came off a 5-game win streak with their heads probably this big after the media pumped everybody up, and they lose McKinnon the day before the first week, and then they lose Jimmy in Kansas City. And then they lose. They barely won versus Detroit, and that team potentially could have fell apart, and this could have been bad. We could have had like a Raiders situation. You could have had guys like Sherman saying, "I want out," blah 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 blah. But no, I give credit to Kyle and John for holding, and the coaches for holding this locker room strong, and also some of the leadership with Joe Staley, all the captains that they chose. Which, by the way, I love seeing the C's on their jerseys. But getting back to what I was saying, I just want to see this team fight like they have been. Listen, it sucked when they lost to the Chargers. It sucked when they lost to Green Bay. But you know what? They were in that game to the last minute. And they just, it sucks that they're losing. Do I want them to lose out? No, because I'm a diehard fan. If we win out, which I'm not saying they are, but let's say we win 4 more games, and that brings us to 6-10. If there's someone you truly want in the top 3, go get him. If that guy, you feel 100% that that's your guy, go get him. So I just want to see competitive football like it's been. I just want to see like guys continue to grow. I want to see the young guys, the undrafted guys, the bottom end of the draft rookies that were selected, undrafted guys. I want to see them get on the field and perform and get an opportunity to perform in the system. So next year, we move forward. We put 18 behind us. We move forward to 19. But one thing, though, what the hell was I just going to say? I forgot. Oh, shit. Damn, man, I forgot. I got to say something.
Want us to come back to you?
No,
Oh.
if let's say like a game gets out of hand, I would like to see Travarius Moore get on the field. Take Sherman out. Let him get some reps. Pull Kwan Williams out. Throw DJ Reed in the slot. Let him get some reps. Let these younger guys develop, because the only way these guys are going to learn, I don't give a shit what they do in practice, how many reps they get in practice, in-game experience. That is the only way you're going to learn. That is the only way you're going to get better. And if we lose out, we lose out. We get the better pick. As long as we're competing, if the game gets crazy, let the young guys get some experience. So next year, we add the pieces we need, we draft the pieces that we need, and let's get it.
All right. I agree, man. Stefan, they're saying a lot of stuff, man. Tony brought another element into it about the youth movement. We haven't seen Julian Taylor active a single game. And preseason, he had all of us humming and buzzing over here. So I want to know how you want to watch the rest of the game, and what do you think about the youth movement, man? Should the Niners be trying to work these guys in a little bit more?
Yeah, so first and foremost, I am a diehard fan as well, so I hate to see the 49ers losing. However, I can live with the 49ers losing, knowing that the team is banged up at important positions, and or at least I can live with certain times of losses. The Green Bay game, I was sick to my stomach afterwards, but I love to see that we really had a chance winning that game, and that we should have won the game. The Chargers game as well. Those are losses I can understand. You're giving your best, and you will lose to a quarterback like Phillip Rivers or Aaron Rodgers, which are top 5 quarterbacks still in the league. What I cannot see are losses like against the Cardinals. Those are games that the 49ers absolutely should have won. Those were just sloppy games, and I cannot stand sloppy games. This is like players executing or not executing basic stuff. And if I see, as Tony said, if I see the 49ers playing, giving their best and actually doing their best and still lose, I can live with that, because I know then that the team gave everything it got and just got outplayed. I can live with those losses. I can also live with blowout losses like against the Rams. It was a little bit of a sloppy game, but I didn't really have the expectation to win it. And it was at a certain point in the game, it was just clear that the Rams are way ahead of the 49ers, and that I can live with those losses. But against the Cardinals, those sloppy games, this is something where just player concentration isn't there, player execution isn't there, and this is basically this is what really drives me mad. And I don't want the 49ers to lose. I never want the 49ers to lose, but if it's in a competitive way, as you said, I can live with that. I honestly didn't think too much about the younger guys, as Tony said. If I'm okay with playing young guys, but this is basically like, if you're behind like 20 points and this is basically garbage time, then I'm okay with giving guys like Travarius Moore, DJ Reed and Julian Taylor, etc. I'm okay with them giving them some playing time. Basically, this is games are not won in practice, and you can only get better through playing games. And this is where I actually agree that the 49ers should play those players. But I don't think. I mean, I'd really like to see Julian Taylor at some point, just to see how he does in a real NFL game and not just in a preseason game against the Cowboys. But at the moment, if the games are competitive and the 49ers feel that the other players out there are performing better or performing well, I don't mind if they don't play just because the season is lost. I want the 49ers to give it everything, and if Julian Taylor is not a player, I don't want him to be on the field. Simple as that. And if games get out of hand early, though, I am okay with giving veterans that and playing the young guys to get them some experience.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that I want to see, regardless of the score and things like that. Like there's guys that I am just really curious and scratching my head about. Dante Pettis is probably the main one. What is he doing for the 49ers? It's just like, are you waving to me? Are you saying hi? Okay. I really want to see what Dante Pettis is going to do. I mean, they put him back for a couple of returns. He does a couple of fair catches, and then he kind of vanishes, And I've been waiting to see Richie James come onto the scene. He had his little moment. He had an opportunity for a touchdown, and he dropped it. I should have known that this game we would have seen a little bit more Richie James because he's on the practice squad, and so is he's working with the third team, and so was Nick Mullens. So you probably felt like I probably should have assumed that they had a little bit of chemistry between the two of them already, But I don't know, like he was so close to bringing that one home, and he was right there. He just dropped it. All he had to do was catch the ball and cut upfield, and he would have been in the end zone. But it is what it is. I do want to see some more of these young guys out here, though. I do want to see Dante Pettis. I want to see some consistency on the offensive line. I love seeing Mike McGlinchey out there. That guy is a stud. You build in the trenches, you know what I mean? And that's what you want to see right there. That guy is amazing. Excellent draft pick for this team. But going forward, the 49ers have taken the pressure of having to win off by losing so much already. We don't have to win all these games. We just have to show up. Like Stefan said, what I don't want to watch is bad football. Looking like we just didn't prepare all week long. That Cardinals game is the first one, not even the second one. The second one was bad too, but the first Cardinals game was horrible. We dominated in every facet of that game except turnovers, and we just looked it was so bad. And the second Cardinals game was also bad, but on a different way. The offense just didn't show up at all. There was no offensive production at all. And those are the kind of games you don't want to see. I don't care who you're a fan of. And even watching a game like that on the other side is bad. We watched the Raiders. The Raiders game didn't look like they struggled offensively. They were moving the ball up and down the field. They were getting yards. They were getting first downs and things like that, but they just couldn't get in the end zone, and so the game wasn't as unbearable to watch as what I thought of our Cardinals game, the second one. So it wasn't that bad. Is there anything else you guys want to touch on before we get out of here? Because I personally have to get back to work. I've been on lunch break for about two and a half hours now, so you guys are going to get me fired. I got to get up out of here.
Yeah. One little quick thing. You mentioned Dante Pettis. I don't know if you guys have noticed anything different, but he's been back like 2 games now, I think. And did he have a single target? I don't remember, honestly, seeing him on offense. And he was just back there returning punts or every other punt and didn't do a whole lot. So that made me, if he's healthy, why doesn't he play more on offense? And why doesn't he show up more? This is one question that's been bothering me since the Raiders game, because I've seen if he's healthy and can return punts, he is surely healthy enough to play on the offense or not.
Yeah, it's weird. It seems like our 3 wide receivers last game were Garcon, Goodwin, and James. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't remember him getting any targets. Nick, I know. Oh, go ahead, Tony. Go ahead. What's up?
What's his name? The receiver, Pettis. I don't think he's 100%. Because if you remember week 1 versus Minnesota, where he had that big catch, he was in a lot of 3 wide sets to begin the season. And something's not right with him. I don't think he's 100% healed. And I also think he needs one full offseason in the weight room. As far as that, for Pettis.
Get some strength.
My thing, I just want to just throw this out there. We are improving as far as turnovers, penalties over the last couple weeks. That's huge. And like, listen, Mike, I don't know if you guys will agree with me with this, but let's say the Rams, or let's say even the Saints, who just beat the Rams. You take Drew Brees off that team and Alvin Kamara off that team, what do you have?
Teddy Bridgewater and Mark Ingram. So probably a 6-win team at top.
They're not 8-1 where they are right now. I'm not saying Jimmy is Drew Brees. I'm not saying McKinnon is Kamara, but they are better than what we have right now. I'm happy with the direction this team's going. I think this offensive line going into next season is going to be unreal. I think it was huge this season that Kyle got this running game into the top 5 of the NFL. I think that's huge because, as we all can agree, Kyle's offense is a play-action offense. So I wouldn't say this season was a total failure because he got the most important thing in his offense, a part of his offense, going in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And even the defense is making strides. I don't think people realize how good the defense is playing. The defense looks really silly at times, but if you step back and look at the stats, I mean, it's a passing league, and teams are putting up a lot more yards and points. But we're, I think tied for 8th or 7th in sacks this year. You know what I mean? Like the team has got turnovers coming in now. All of a sudden, we're putting pressure on quarterbacks, and the yards and points we're keeping teams down at a lot of points, even in the losses. The teams aren't blowing us out except for 1 or 2 games where they're putting up a lot of points, but we're not as bad as people think, and there's a lot of injuries still to be accounted for. So we're gonna be all right. Nick, man, final thoughts on all this?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Tony. I agree with what you're saying. This defense isn't as bad as I think it is, but I think the reason for that is due to the fact of Saleh mixing things up. He's he's sending blitzes from different areas. He's mixing people up on the inside of the line. Solomon Thomas is playing in the right position. The rotation has been good. Big shout out to Tyvis Powell too, because I thought he played a hell of a game. I thought he actually played a hell of a game last week, and being able to step in there. Same with Malcolm Smith. I don't know how many people really realize this, but that was Pierre Garçon's first touchdown as a 49er. When I heard that, I'm like, wait, what? And I'm like, oh, shit, that's right, because he went out with a neck injury. He was out the entire year last year, and then he was injured this year. So his first touchdown as a 49er, praise to him and Mullens hooking up. But, as Tony said, penalties have gotten better since the first 4 weeks. I think we're like 7th best in the league with penalties right now. So we've gotten better with that. I really think that, like I said earlier, the defense is a pass rusher away from making us that much better. Touching on what Tony and Stefan were saying about wanting to see players like Julian Taylor and such like that, I think Julian Taylor would have got his shot if Ronald Blair didn't start coming into his own. Ronald Blair has definitely balled out, and I think that since Ronald Blair has been balling out, that's kind of pushed Julian Taylor back towards the end of the depth chart. But I think if Ronald Blair wasn't working, I think we would have seen Julian Taylor by now playing. But since the likes of Ronald Blair has been playing well, you got to ride with the hot hand, and you got to allow that young guy to get some reps. So I like the direction that the team's headed. It sucks losing. But any team like loses starting running back, 2 big prize possessions that we got in the off seasons go down, it's going to put a hurting on you no matter what team you are. So you got to just remember to stay faithful, stay committed to this team. Don't bash Kyle Shanahan or John Lynch. When they took over, they said it was going to be a journey. It wasn't going to happen overnight, and things would change, and you got time. And it's basically the logo, the slogan of brick by brick. And I think we're headed in the right direction. We just have to find a team, and I just want to see competitive football from here on out.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I'm clear here. I want us to be a lot healthier going forward. I hate seeing all these injuries, and I don't know if injuries are I don't know, a byproduct of the record and how the team is performing, but it seems like players are willing to stay on the field a little bit more when we're winning and when we're doing well. You look at the last 5 games of last season, we didn't have a ton of injuries, but before that, and then after that, and this year, the injuries are just piling up like it was nothing. So I don't know. I want to see us be a lot healthier going forward. I'm excited about this upcoming Monday Night Football game against the Giants. I can't wait to see how we try to play. I know people are focused on Odell Beckham Jr., but I'm anxious to see how we try to defend Sterling Shepard. He's an underrated part of that offense over there, and I can't wait to see how that game goes. I want to see us get after Eli Manning, but we're going to get to all that later on. We're going to do a podcast previewing the game, and we're going to have some excellent quotes. I got some good stuff for you guys, some DeForest Buckner quotes. DeForest Buckner, here's a little teaser for this podcast that's coming up. DeForest Buckner wasn't happy with C.J. Beathard. Yeah, I'm going to get him out of conspiracy theory bag, guys. I'm going to get into it, but I'm telling you right now, this defense was not happy with C.J. Beathard, and I got proof. So, guys, make sure you are subscribed to us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, Google Play, all that good stuff. Make sure you subscribe. Search NB Niners or Nothing But Niners or Talk 49ers with Nothing But Niners on any platform that has podcasts. We're going to bring you guys one this week, I promise you, and it's going to be good. We're going to have SoundClouds and bites from the head coach, from some defensive players and things like that, and you're going to hear from the quarterbacks, both of them, this week also. So make sure you guys check all that out. I'm going to wrap this thing up. Everybody good? Can I get a thumbs up from everybody? You guys good? Ready to get out of here? Yeah, Tony, Stefan, Nick, peace. All right, guys, we're up out of here. Prepare for glory, anticipate pain, but always remain faithful. We're out of here.